Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the Greg Cherry Show. Back again for another Wednesday. How's everybody doing tonight? I'm, of course, your host, Greg Cherry, to be joined by a co-host here in just a minute. But we got a lot to talk about, and it's going to be an exciting time. Really looking forward to today's show because we got so much that we have to cover. We're going to be talking about wrestling, and yes, football season is approaching, so get ready for the next 5 months because Jeff's going to be coming back next week. It's looking like. And we're going to be having all the football discussion, college football, NFL, you name it. And we're going to talk about it for you. Tomorrow is a very special episode of Jack of All Trades. It's going to be the last one for a couple weeks. Guys, we're deciding the very first ever WTC Jack of All Trades champion. It's such a great match. It's going to be put up. It's going to air live at 5 o'clock Eastern. It's obviously pre-taped, but it's going to be airing at 5 o'clock Eastern tomorrow and available on demand after. But it's going to be an exciting one to talk about. We're also going to delve into some weird thoughts as we have the last couple weeks because these are interesting to me because some of these I've never thought about. Others are like, yeah, I've considered that before. It is very weird, some of the ironies of this world. And, of course, we're talking the Wednesday Q&A. And don't forget, as always, as you see scrolling across the bottom, you can always send in your Super Chats to that Streamlabs link, and we will get you hooked right up. Now, as we were talking, we've got a lot to talk about. SummerSlam is coming up. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be a great show, as long as the COVID restrictions, don't restrict it. Because all this crap is coming out. If you haven't got your vaccination, if you're part of the problem, then, get your vaccination done. Just get it over with and get this world back to relative normalcy. Because if it gets to the point where we're all vaccinated and this crap is still going on, it's like, what can we do at that point? It's so obnoxious that this is still a thing this long after the fact. This should have been dead and buried and caught immediately. And now it's so obnoxious. I can't tell you how frustrating the COVID thing is. But regardless, COVID restrictions notwithstanding, SummerSlam is looking to be like it's going to be an amazing show. And NXT TakeOver is actually the day after SummerSlam, which is very weird for an NXT show to be basically night 2 of SummerSlam weekend. You don't see that very often. I mean, it's looking like it's going to be John Cena and Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship, Bobby Lashley and Goldberg for the WWE Championship. We saw the women's triple threat match for Raw put out there, and it's like Charlotte's in yet another freaking championship match. Are we surprised? We really shouldn't be, if we're going to be completely honest. It's just another one of those frustrating things that always seems to happen. But NXT TakeOver is already shaping up to be a great show. I mean, when you just look at what the main event is going to be, Samoa Joe returning to the ring to face Karrion Kross for the NXT Championship. I can't think of a better way for Joe to come back, and that is a Big E special right there of 2 meaty men slapping meat, or big meaty men slapping meat, I guess it is. That one is going to be awesome. Say what you will about Karrion Kross, but the program with Samoa Joe, it hasn't erased the Jeff Hardy loss. Let's be honest. The Jeff Hardy loss last week on Raw still sticks out in people's craw, and people are annoyed by it. People don't like the fact that Karrion Kross lost to Jeff Hardy. It is what it is. It's Monday Night Raw. But before we continue this discussion, I'm going to welcome in my co-host for the evening. You know him. You love him. You'll never forget him. No, it's not Diamond Dallas Page. It's JB3. What's up, brother?
Yes. How's everybody doing? It's a good day. It's Wednesday. And you know what that means. It's going to be the Greg Cherry Show and then an AEW.
Yes. And I'm looking forward to some AEW Dynamite tonight. That Nick Gage, Chris Jericho match is going to be insane.
I just wonder if he's going to, keep it cool or if he's going to go off script and just like cut his mouth open or something. I don't know. Crazy stuff.
I mean, did you see any of the footage of the Matt Cardona Nick Gage match? Holy shit.
Yeah, I did. I seen him getting pelted too by all the full beer bottles and stuff. Like, man, somebody threw a pizza cutter at him, I heard.
Well, after all the stuff he went through, I'm sure that pizza cutter was the least of his worries.
Yeah, for sure. No, it was actually a really good match. I did see a little bit of WWE in there just because it is Matt Cardona and that's all he really knew. But the match was great. I liked what made it more special to me was, and probably a lot of people, was the reaction. Like the crowd, like there's it's debatable whether it was so disrespectful or if it was like true heel heat. It was memorable. It was very memorable. So that's one thing.
Absolutely. And, Meltzer was one of those guys who was like, oh, this is completely disrespectful to the wrestling business.
Yeah.
Who was the last person to get that type of, hey, we're going to throw stuff at this guy because we hate him type heat?
Hogan?
I mean, you figure Hogan with the NWO, also Jeff Jarrett and TNA.
Oh, yeah.
Like, to put... let's
Jarrett.
Think about that for a second. Hulk Hogan joining the NWO. Jeff Jarrett and TNA. We know how much heat he had. And now Matt Cardona. Who would have thought that the guy who went woo, 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 it, could generate such heat? And props to him. It's not a knock to him whatsoever for him to go in to Game Changer Wrestling and get that type of heat. And one of my favorite parts about that was the announcer after the fact. Because he was like so downtrodden to announce that Cardona was champion, because it was like, ladies and gentlemen, the winner and new. And there was no.
It sounded like the fan leagues whenever someone wins their trivia matches, they're like, and your winner.
It was very. But I felt like it added to the presentation because it's like one of those, oh no, this actually happened. What are we going to do now?
Exactly. He's playing it perfect.
Oh, he absolutely is. And for him to go through that hell to get that kind of reaction, dare I say it was more of a powerful reaction than him winning the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sure his moment, like the moment he had, was better, but golly, he's treating the GCW World Championship like it's the World Championship, and that's something that they needed, I think, because they're plagued, with the death match trope, which a lot of people love, a lot of people hate. There's some who's a hybrid who doesn't mind. They just love pro wrestling, like me. I like it all. So it's crazy to think about, but I think that Matt Cardona is taking full advantage. He wanted to evolve his experience in the wrestling business. I think that he did just that.
Yeah. Let me put it this way. I don't think I could ever go through with a death match. I don't think I could do it.
Mentally, I think you have to go to a place.
Yeah, mentally you have to like check out and damn near blackout to like go to that place. I feel obviously not speaking from any experience, but like no disqualification matches are one thing. It's like that I feel like I could handle. Death matches are a completely whole nother level that I don't think I could go to. Unless like something like snapped in my mind as just like, I don't care about anything. That might be the only time. But other than that, I don't think that's something I can do.
I tell you what, that's going to be the culmination of the feud between you and Cass and trivia. It's going to go all the way to a pro wrestling death match one day.
Oh, I hope not.
No, I'm the opposite. I think that I would enjoy it. I think that I would really, really like a death match personally. Like, I'm kind of crazy that I might actually request Nick Gage and almost die doing it. But I think for me, it's just one of those. Sometimes, like whenever I got into competitive stuff, whether it be especially very physical, those endorphins with me, they get me amped up. I think some people talk about that. Like I think Mick Foley. You can't really compare Mick Foley to anybody. He's kind of the craziest man alive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to do something like that someday. I mean, a lot of people have a dream to be a pro wrestler. I'm one of them since I was a kid. I've never done it, but if I were to go that route, Greg, I think I might do a death match.
I mean, I always wanted to be in a Royal Rumble match, which technically speaking, I did like this indie show one time. It was actually like believe it or not, it was like a church fundraiser. And we only had like 8 or 9 people there. So we just booked a Rumble match with everybody. And I threw myself in there because I'm like, listen, I want to do one of these and I'll take it. I got one offensive move, eliminated one person, and then got my ass kicked the rest of the time before I got tossed. So, but it was still fun. It was still an interesting experience. And if I ever got a chance to do the real thing, I feel like that would be awesome.
Oh gosh, I can imagine. I've never stepped foot, me personally. A little bit of fun facts for everybody watching for JB3. This is fun facts. I've never stepped foot inside of a wrestling ring. Never in my life. I've never in my life met a wrestler. Like I met like like indie pro wrestlers. Just I know a few, but like big time wrestlers, never met one. Never seen one with my eyes. Besides going to a show. The closest I got was after a SmackDown. Matt Hardy shook my hand when I was in a crowd full of people. That was the best thing I got. And me and my son seen Bailey and Sasha Banks leaving one day in a car, and we didn't want to bother them. We were just like, let them be. They're probably busy.
A lot of people like freak out when it comes to like bumping in a ring. Like that show I was telling you about, I probably hadn't bumped in a ring in like 3-4 years. I went back, took a back bump. I was like, that's the stuff. I missed it like instantly. Like,
yeah, I did some backyard stuff when I was early 20s. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I've wrote wrestling matches that I've never competed in because I would say one day I'm going to be in a wrestling match. I'm going to do this kind of a match, but it's just never. Maybe I don't know. I guess I'm still young, right, Greg? I could do it if I really want to.
Yeah, you and me versus Cass and Dim. Book it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, are we allowed to swear on this show?
Oh yeah, I don't care.
Okay. Fuck you, Dim. I hope he's watching.
I'm not monetized yet. I'm actually very close. Like I need my watch hours up to get there. Adam Pearson's in the chat. How are you doing, Mr. Pearson?
Hey, Adam Pearson.
Yes. I will get to your question in just a little bit, probably when we get to the Q&A. But I did also want to talk about football. And yes, it's American football, not soccer. So that's coming up soon. Like we're almost into August. So we're going to be hitting the preseason here in a little bit. And then the first 17-week season, for 17-game season, I should say. I guess it's going to be an 18-week season. But 17-game season.
That's different.
It is different. I don't know if I like it.
Yeah, because I mean, I like it. I like it a lot actually, because I'm a Lions fan, and I think with 17 games in a season, I think the 0-16 thing will be like forgotten, maybe.
Yeah. Now we just need a team to go 0-17. Looking at you, Cincinnati.
Yes, Adam.
Adam Pearson, Detroit Lions, baby. Obviously, me being a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I'm hoping that they. Here's the thing: when it comes to the Steelers, especially everybody in the media saying, "Oh, Roethlisberger is not going to be this, he's not going to be that, this, that, and the other thing," and the Steelers are going to be at the bottom of the AFC North, and then he plays, and then it's like, okay, he's been in the league for 17 years, and we're still wrong about him. It's like he's a 2-time Super Bowl champion. Like, you act like he's freaking. Give me a terrible quarterback's name. Blake Bortles or something.
I was going to say Scott Mitchell.
I don't even know who that is.
Old school Lions quarterback.
I kind of figured. But they act like he's like this low-level quarterback who doesn't have anything. If he had an offensive line, first of all, his arm is back to where it was. As many passes as he threw last year, it was unnecessary how many passes he threw last year, and they still went 12-4 in the regular season. If they have a strong offensive line, especially with getting Najee Harris as your back, I think we're looking at a strong team. Getting a healthy defensive line, which they were phenomenal last year. I think the Steelers team could go a pretty good distance.
Hey, look, take it from me. Someone with experience, don't get your hopes up. When you have a bad season, like the Lions do all the time, I guess the Lions are different. I guess the Lions are a little different. We don't have any Super Bowls. We don't have a few playoff appearances, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for us, 8-8 is a disappointing season. I feel bad because as Steelers fans, we're almost spoiled because Tomlin, since he came in to the Steelers organization, has not had a losing season in 14, 15 years. That's absurd for any coach to not have a losing season. And he was coming off the tail end of Cowher's team, which went to the Super Bowl, but even still, to still have that kind of consistency, it's only translated to one championship and another Super Bowl appearance. But I think this could be a year that the Steelers have a deeper playoff run than they did last year. They have to make up for the atrocity that was that game against the Cleveland Browns.
When it comes to the football seasons, my biggest thing is I really want a good Super Bowl. That's what I really like. I know that there's a whole season. There's now 17 games per team, and then the playoffs are always fun. But golly, that Super Bowl! I mean, I've seen so many Super Bowls that were not so good, but then I watched the ones that were like actually good games. They're so much better. Oh, in my opinion, I like watching close. I know that like in football, the Raiders, dark horse.
I mean, the Raiders could be surprising. We'll see if Vegas has what it takes to make the playoffs. And now it's like 7 teams on each side for the AFC and the NFC in the playoffs. It's almost going to become like participation trophies if they keep adding more teams. Well, who doesn't love Adam Pearson?
Love that guy.
Everybody loves Adam Pearson, or they should.
Adam Pearson is the only person who's ever chatted with me inside of a Quizlemania chat while it's going live. There's like 5,000 people in there, and I'll be like, "What's up, Adam?" And he'll be like, "Hey, JB3," and I'm like, "See, that's like for me, that's amazing. I love that.
Oh, it's absolutely amazing. I don't. First of all, I have to catch the shows live, which I don't do too often. I try to, but it's one of those things where it's like there's so many people chatting. I feel like my message would just get lost. That's why I send in the super chats to plug my stuff.
Hey, you gotta,
because those at least get read out. The stuff in the chat doesn't necessarily. But I brought up the Cleveland Browns game, and I'm going to work this into a transition for our next thing. Because the Cleveland Browns game is where Daisy and I first started talking on Twitter because we're both big Steelers fans. So here's the transition from that to this.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the Jack of All Trades Championship is tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern. That's going to be an incredible match. And I believe I have that graphic pulled up right here. Look at those lovely people.
Daisy, I'm gonna lie. My personal opinion, the one all the way to the left is the coolest and most beautiful one of the group.
Yeah. I mean, Daisy is a great person.
She is. And she defeated me in the first match. So I'm kind of biased.
Yes, you, Deco, and Big G all fell to Daisy. It's going to be Daisy Ruth. It's going to be Wrestle Talks, Andy Datson. It's going to be Stump the Bump competitor K-Zone, and it's going to be my good buddy Travis Fame in the Jack of All Trades Championship match tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern. What a match that's going to be. I'm so excited for you guys to see it. I hope you all enjoy it. And I'm hoping I may have some pretty big guests lined up for whoever's first defense it is. And that's all I'll say.
Oh, man. Well,
So
everybody
you guys-
watching know that he said big guests, so he's definitely talking about me. Not because I'm a big name. I got a big gut.
Hey, you and me both, brother. But I'm really excited about that. So everybody tune in tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern, to the Jack of All Trades. Now, no wheel spins as of yet. No, I'm surprised because this has actually been brought up to me. If you see it in the screen, somebody asked me how much it would cost to challenge me for the WTC title. And I said, hey, you submit $100 on the Greg Cherry show, and you get a future WTC title shot.
I'm curious who would do that. I'm curious who would drop $100.
If I had a slightly bigger Twitter following, I would probably put it out there, be like, hey, listen, I consider myself to be among the greatest wrestling trivia minds ever. Yeah, I have the shirt that says greatest wrestling trivia mind ever. I know. But
you gotta have your gimmick.
Yeah. But it's one of those things that if you really want to prove your worth, because that wouldn't be the first time somebody has said, hey, if I don't beat you, I'll pay you $100. And I ended up beating them. So I made that money.
Hey.
But if anybody wants to challenge me for a future episode, I'll make sure Jeff has 20 questions ready, and we'll get the tape in an episode of WTC. I do want to start the tournament at some point. Again, there's a lot of planning that goes on in that, but I do want to get the regular trivia shows going again. So I may be calling up some CWT guys to enter that tournament again.
Well, the CWT guys are ready to go. Ready to go. They were in your last tournament.
Yes, they were. And there were a few that weren't entered that I'm sure would enter this year. So I've got some ideas of who I want to have in this upcoming tournament. But
yeah, you usually run tournaments every what? Let me count. Is it 8? Is it 8?
Oh.
Is it 8?
If you don't get that reference, check out the finals match between Louis Dangor and Chris Cass, because I got that reference right away.
I hope he's watching it. He got it too.
And somewhere Cass is cursing you, even if he's not watching this, he's probably cursing you anyway. But I'm sure he never got over that, because he even had 8 fingers up, and he said 7.
7?
Yeah.
Bruh. I think he thought maybe he was still part of The Simpsons. He's been doing those character drawings, and he maybe only had 8 fingers. I don't know. He's got his counts messed up. That was a really good match. If anybody didn't watch that, definitely check that out. I am a wrestling trivia guy, and that was a great match.
Yes, I loved a lot of the matches that happened in that tournament. Some good ones. But we're going to move from wrestling trivia to some weird thoughts.
Oh, man.
And
weird thoughts.
Yes, and they're exactly what you would think they are. They're very curious things that you think of, and you go, huh, I guess that is the case. So let's get into some weird thoughts.
I'm ready.
Do I still have this? Yeah, I still have this.
Cherry for Quizlemania.
Yes. It'll happen. It'll happen eventually. I don't know when.
You're gonna get like 30 of those fist trophies before. Watch. They're gonna make you win like 30 of them. You got 4 over there.
Yeah, I have 4 over here. I'm gonna run out of room on this thing, because I have to display them,
Yeah, maybe it's all about the following. I'll throw shade. You don't need to throw shade. I'll throw shade. Anytime I ever talk to those guys, they big league me. So I don't even message them anymore. I don't even think about it. I don't even give them. I watch their show because they're entertaining. But
they are entertaining.
I'm not. I can already tell they're too famous for me.
Yeah, it is. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Anyway, we're gonna get into some weird thoughts. Have you ever thought about this? What's another word for thesaurus?
Another word for thesaurus?
Yeah, it's not like a joke. It's not. It doesn't have an answer. It's just something to think about.
Encyclopedia? I don't know. Or encyclopedia, like Ted?
Encyclopedia. Yeah, like Ted Mosby. How I Met Your Mother. There you go. If white wine goes with fish, do white grapes go with sushi?
White wine goes with fish.
Think about it.
I get it. I think it has something to do with smashing it, right?
They're too Adam Pearson. They're too famous for me, and I've worded with ScarJo.
See what I'm saying, Adam? See what I'm saying, Adam?
Hey, but you can still get on Quizlemania because you're a good guy.
Yeah, Adam's the man, though. They would be a fool to not put Adam on that show.
I've offered this to Andy, but I'll offer it to you too, Adam. If they ever do a tag team one and you need a partner, sneak me in there. Don't tell anybody. I'll put like Adam's partner or something, and then they won't have a. I'll turn my camera off because I have the one on my computer and the one up on my TV, and I'll just put it on the other one so they don't see who I am and I don't get revealed till I'm actually live.
That'd be messed up. Adam shut you down, not Pearson. Blampier just shut you down. No.
Well, how would he? If it's a tag team one, he wouldn't have a choice.
That's a good thought.
It's bad. Yeah, it's bad content if you just cut somebody out and make him work as like a handicap match or something. You can't do that.
Maybe. No, Blampier he's cool. He's cool. I mean, he's probably upset that he got his ass beat in your tournament, but
he beat Hunter. He beat Hunter. He didn't get knocked out in the first round. I know it's Hunter, but
hey, Hunter's getting a lot better. But yeah, he beat Hunter.
Hunter beat Nico. If you haven't seen Prestige yet, go over to Combat Wrestling Trivia and check out Prestige. I still need to get that link to watch the. There you go. They'll never see it coming. What's up, Colin? How you doing?
The Cleaver in the house.
Yes, the Cleaver, Colin Andrew.
Yes.
He was in the tournament also.
That's right.
He fell to Louis Dangor, who ended up winning the whole thing. So he can't feel too bad. If you lose to the guy who wins it all, then, you know.
Yeah, Louis was on a whole other trip, wasn't he? He wins your tournament and then leaves Wrestle Talk.
It's because I beat him, so he couldn't show his face anymore at Wrestle Talk.
That's crazy.
Happened.
Yeah.
All right. Back to some weird thoughts.
Real quick, before we go to weird thoughts, this is a weird thought. I know I said this before. All the Wrestle Talk guys, I know if somehow you're going to hear these words, Louis is not a nugget. Thank you.
He's a black heart, damn it. Oh,
yes.
Something else. Let's see. If someone has a midlife crisis while playing hide and seek, does he automatically lose because he can't find himself?
I would say yes. Yes.
All right. Not necessarily in that same vein, but if someone with multiple personalities threatened to kill himself, is it considered a hostage situation?
Now this one I don't think so, because this is a little bit tougher to decide. Because usually the hostages are treated so much more differently than the kidnappers. So, and
I mean, do you talk to him? Does he have witnesses? Like, is he his own witness?
Right. He wears a lot of hats. Yeah, that's a good one, Greg, because I have no idea that really makes my brain hurt a little bit.
I know we've had our brains hurt a lot in the last few weeks. It's fine. Next up. Isn't it a bit unnerving that doctors call what they do practice? That's always been weird to me.
Like, what are you doing right now? Just practicing. Excuse me? Wait, what? Like, I should not. I feel like if they're lucky that they can use that word, because I've gotten my hair cut at a school before, like a beauty school, and I got charged way less, like a super discount, because they were students. They messed my hair up so bad too. Oh my gosh! Back when I had hair.
Right.
But man,
my wife went to beauty school, so I know all about that.
Yeah, like, is there like, do they? I wonder. That brings me to the thought: do they like, when they're in school as trying to be a doctor? Do they like get sick people to like practice on? And I don't know how that works.
So what they do is they practice on like mannequin hair first.
Right.
Because you don't want to like throw them in the deep end and hey, just start cutting hair. Like you have to learn like the techniques and stuff and like get approved by people who know how to do it before you can actually start working on clients.
That makes sense. No Walking Dead here where they're like, hey, do you have any medical experience? They're like, not at all. You're the new doctor. Go sew that arm back on. Then they went right into the deep end.
So this one I feel in my soul, the 50-50-90 rule. Anytime you have a 50-50 chance of getting something right, there's a 90% probability you'll get it wrong.
I mean, this is math. This is math, Greg.
Yeah.
I
feel that one like deep down in my soul.
I understand.
Yeah. You can't have everything. Where would you put it?
You can't have everything. Where would you put it? This is true. That is true.
I like this one. And then another one. It is hard to understand how a cemetery raised its burial cost and blamed it on the cost of living.
Oh my gosh. I had a conversation the other day about how funerals and that whole business is they just take your money.
Yeah.
Just take your money. Oh my gosh. But that's funnier. Not funny, not to be disrespectful to people who are in those, but yeah.
Just before someone gets nervous, do they experience cocoons in their stomach?
I like that one. I mean, before.
And speaking of some Steiner math, as we call it, the latest survey shows that 3 out of 4 people make up 75% of the world's population.
What?
It's basically just a statement. 3 out of 4 people make up 75% of the world's population. Yeah, because that's how that works.
I mean,
3 out of 4 people is 75%. So
right. From the ratio, yeah. I mean, that does make sense. 3 or 4 people. 3 out of 4 people. That's what you said.
Yeah, 3 out of 4 people. All right. We're going to do a couple more, and then we're going to... There you go. Why are they called buildings when they've already been built?
So they should be called builts?
They should be called built.
I'm going to start calling them builts now. Where'd I go? Go to that built over there. People get confused.
So this is the biggest fuel to my politics as a work thing. It's very true and almost very sad. Everybody lies, but it doesn't matter since nobody listens.
Oh my gosh.
Hard truths today on the Greg Cherry Show.
Right. You're killing me over here.
I like this. I wish the buck stopped here, as I could use a few.
Yeah. I feel that.
I get that.
By the way, if you guys hear a bunch of kids screaming in my end, my bad. There's kids
That's fine.
everywhere. There's kids everywhere in my house.
When your pet bird sees you reading the newspaper, does he wonder why you're just sitting there staring at carpeting?
Oh. You got more? I'm waiting on more, man, because I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it.
Yeah, we got to do one more before I hit the Q&A. Light travels faster than sound. That is why some people appear bright until you hear them speak.
Yes. That's a very good one to end it off on. Man, that's true. So true. I've met plenty of people who had that aspect to them where you think that you look at them and you're like, oh, they're a bright person. And then you talk to them and you're like, whoa. Whoa there, bud.
You can say that about a lot of people on Twitter, too. It's like, oh, you look like you know what you're talking about. And then you see what they're talking about. It's like, oh, you have no clue.
I don't like Twitter. It's kind of messed up running a trivia league and trying to get views and trying to get traction and then not liking social media. It's kind of a backwards thing.
Yeah, trust me, it's very hard. Like the reason, like I would love to get on Quizlemania, not just like to compete on the show. Like I feel like I'm the greatest wrestling trivia mind ever. Blah blah blah. It's not really a wrestling trivia show. It's more like a fun show, like Jack of all trades is. But one of the main things I want to get is that exposure to people. To be like, hey, check out my stuff. I do some fun stuff too. And I feel like I could be an entertaining guest. And that's really all I've wanted to do. It's not like this, hey, I could beat all of you, because there are some rounds on there that I am absolutely terrible at.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of random stuff anyway. Like, you know that.
It is. Like, know the prices of things. You would think for as many years as I've watched The Price is Right that I would have a good idea about some of the random, ridiculous wrestling crap. I have nothing. I got no clue whatsoever. A lot of them are just blank guesses.
The Price is Right. It's so different watching it now. Everybody has to be separated.
Yeah.
They can't have a crowd or whatever. So, like, there's no, come on down. It's like they're backstage.
Yeah. It is weird.
It's definitely weird. It's a weird thought.
Yeah. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. Man's best friend is a dog. Sexist much.
Somebody's over here dropping truth bombs.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna hit up the Wednesday Q&A, and then we're gonna all go watch some Dynamite. I'm probably gonna edit Jack of all trades while watching Dynamite, so that should be an interesting experience.
We did have stoned at once, bud.
Yeah. We did have a couple questions. Mr. Yuck sent this actually before the show started, so I appreciate that, Mr. Yuck. If you're still tuned in. Does AEW risk falling into the WCW rut with all the ex-WWE signings? Should they be focusing on building and creating their own superstars with compelling storylines? See, I go back and forth on this one. Go ahead, JB3.
No, you go first. You go first.
I feel like in order to get people to notice the company, you want the names that people already know. You want to bring in people to tune in your stuff if you're lesser known with names that they are familiar with, so that they will tune in and maybe check out the other superstars and actually enjoy what they're seeing. It's what wrestling companies do. It's honestly what I'm doing with Jack of all trades. You want the bigger names to bring people to see your stuff so that more people watch you. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Right. Well, I think that the statement, not from Mr. Yuck. Mr. Yuck's fine, but just like the whole idea that like AEW is going to turn into WCW. The difference is 20 years. You know what I'm saying? WWE had almost 20 years to sign stars, build stars, create stars, whatever the case may be. They had 20 years before AEW came out. In 2019, when they started, you're talking about 85%, if not, that's probably less, 75% of all the pro wrestlers have probably either tried out, signed a developmental deal, had something to do with WWE in some way, in some form. Like, at this point, who hasn't signed for WWE? If you want to sit there and say Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, fine. They're big stars. They're going to move the needle. Of course they are. But if you're sitting there talking about, Aleister Black, they've ruined Aleister Black in WWE. I would much rather see him go somewhere where he can shine more, and then they got so many other ones. You got El Idolo. He did okay in WWE, but he was never going to go far. It didn't work for him. So if WWE is going to treat their superstars like that, and they contract ends and they have an opportunity to go work for another company that treats them better, gives them a lesser of a schedule, pays them good money still. I mean, the only way that I'd compare WCW to AEW besides that was that they both have enough money to make the wrestlers have a better place to work.
Yeah. And you figure that, like, Tony Khan is more in tune with, like, the actual wrestling thing than the people at WCW were.
Oh, God.
Because WCW, towards the end, was just completely taken over by people who had no business anywhere near a pro wrestling show.
True.
So I don't see that AEW is going to be at that risk as long as they continue putting out great shows that people want to tune in and watch. I would, if I was AEW, which obviously I'm not, and this is speaking as somebody who's going to be going to Dynamite in 2 weeks. So mark your calendars, August 11th, there will be no Greg Cherry show unless Jeff hosts it by himself. Because I'll be in Pittsburgh.
You should do it live from your cell phone.
I would if I had unlimited data. I totally would. But I feel like doors open at like 6. I think the show, like dark or something happens at 7. So I'd be going into dark time slot. So I'm not going to do that while there's people in the ring.
I'm glad you and Nico are going to be able to do that. I was going to go to All Out, and then I went to bed one night, and then I woke up the next morning and seen a headline that said AEW All Out sold out. Which, by the way, why didn't they just call it All Out of tickets? I don't know.
I lost my train of thought with my point.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. AEW, I think, is going to be better off than WCW because they learn from its mistakes. Hell, think about it. Impact is almost 20 years old.
Right.
Impact.
It's twice as long as WCW lasted.
Yeah, easily. Like, the fact that Impact has outlasted WCW's as far as longevity goes is a testament in and of itself.
Yeah, Ring of Honor too,
but they haven't had like a national deal till the last few years.
True.
Impact got their first big national exposure in like 2004. Ring of Honor took way long.
Fox. TNA's was Fox Sport, wasn't it? That was their first channel?
Yeah, I think they debuted on Fox Sports in 2004, and then in like 2006 they went to primetime on Spike.
On Spike, where that's when and then that Hogan and Bischoff came.
And then it completely and then people turned off Impact for a long time until the Hardys started doing their thing.
I think as long as TK keeps Russo, Hogan, Bischoff's fine. But if you keep Russo, Hogan, and keep them guys out of there.
Yeah, I was gonna say Bischoff's already been on their show. So
right. Bischoff, I like Eric Bischoff. Like his character that he plays, he in his real person, like that when you listen to his podcast or whatever, I like him. I like Eric.
I hope that answered your question. Adam Pearson had a question. I'm glad I'm getting to now. At the risk of going deep and engaging in pseudopsychology, do you think that there's a link between deathmatch wrestling and mental health? Jimmy Havoc being an example. I'll be honest with you. I never did great in my psychology classes in school, so I'm probably the wrong person to ask about this. There might be some kind of link with. I don't know if I want to call it self-harm, but that's pretty much what a death match is. It's like you're putting your body literally through unbearable pain to entertain some fans. So I don't know if you ever saw, JB3, I don't know if you ever saw like the Vice documentary on, I don't know if it was the IWA Mid-South or what. It was some deathmatch tournament. And like, I watched that entire thing. I was like, deathmatch wrestling isn't my favorite thing in the world. I can watch it. Like, I've gotten a little bit better with being able to stomach some of the stuff. But it feels like I need to be in like a certain mindset to watch any deathmatch stuff, because it's like, I like I said earlier, I couldn't put myself through it. What do you think of Adam's question?
So I think there's a lot of truth to what he's saying. I think that could be the case, depending. Like Jimmy Havoc, I possibly, it's really tough because you think about some of the biggest names that you Mick Foley, right? Terry Funk, mentally, from what we see, they seem okay. Like, then you got, Nick Gage, who's like the current king of death matches in a lot of people's eyes. He just seems like he's just crazy. Like, I don't know. Like, I watched Dark Side of the Ring on him, and he had his, his issues with whatever he had as his demons and stuff. But when it came to his mental stability, I mean, as far as, what, according to the question, I don't know. Like, that's a tough one, because a lot of people, I think, keep that hidden. So I don't know how that's a great question, because it could be. I mean, if someone were to explore that deeper, maybe that could be something, because that's something to think about.
Yeah, the study on that would be incredibly interesting, and you would have to pull guys like Jimmy Jacobs, like Nick Gage, like anybody else in GCW or IWA Mid-South or wherever they've done death matches. Like, you could pull Mick Foley in there.
Right. It's funny. Chris Jericho's talking about, what do you think about tags? They're hurt. Ask another guy, what do you think about thumbtacks? They hurt. Ask Mick Foley, what do you think about thumbtacks? I love them. He loves it.
Different mindset. If Jericho thinks thumbtacks are going to hurt, I can only imagine what's going to happen. I wonder if they're going to kick off Dynamite with a Nick Gage Jericho match, or if that's going to be.
I tell you what,
guess we'll see.
I wouldn't mind it. I tell you what, if Nick Gage he's known, I guess. I don't know if he's known for shooting, but I mean, like, even if you watch that the GCW match of him and Matt Cardona, there was a part Matt Cardona went in the corner, and after something he did, you could tell he was pissed. He just like smacked the ropes, and he was like, man, what the fuck, man? Like, what is, and then like I seen You Can't Kill David Arquette, and he talked a lot about it in there too, and in the Dark Side of the Ring, and like, would he shoot? Would he shoot on him? I don't know. If there's anybody you don't want to shoot on, I think it might be Jericho, because Jericho will punch him in the mouth.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
The match could get ugly real quick, if we're going to be honest. So I'm interested to see it, but I can only imagine what's going to happen. Like, there's going to be a ton of blood.
There's got to be. Unless and the only way, if something like that didn't happen, Nick Gage just took a payday to look weaker, because he is like, he's something special when it comes to like passion. I know a lot of people could say whatever, but that dude, he was willing to die. He was dead for 8 minutes. Yeah. And then when he came back, he's like, I want to go back and wrestle again. Like, come on, bro. So, by the way, shout out to MJF. That was such a good delivery with that introduction, because he knew that once he mentioned that he cut someone's jugular, that it was almost going to be in minds. But as soon as he said it, robbed a bank without a mask, the crowd started popping. Like, they knew. Yeah. And man, like, wait, it's like, you got these 5 labors of Jericho, right? And the first one, Sean Spears, he can use a chair, Jericho can't. Makes total sense. People are like, well, this is going to be the Pinnacle then, right? Wrong. That surprised everybody. It might be one of the biggest draws for. If they open it up, they might open up over 1 million.
Oh, I'm interested to see if the labors are going to continue over the next few weeks, because if that's the case, I'm going to be there for labor number 4.
Oh man!
So I'm interested to see who MJF is going to bring in, or if it's going to be like you have to wrestle FTR in like a submission match or something. Or I don't know. Like, what? I have no idea. But
FTR in a handicap match.
SN1281 says WCW wasn't in a rut because they signed ex-WWE talent. That's actually what got them out of their initial rut and put them on the mat. I mean, you figure the biggest group that they had was Hogan, Nash, and Hall, all ex-WWE guys, which, yes, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash were in WCW before they were in the WWE.
That's what I was talking about, though. They didn't make a name for themselves until they went to the WWE.
Yeah.
Or F or whatever. Like, no one would have known who Oz was if Diesel wasn't a thing. Yeah. I'm sorry. Like, maybe you would have, Greg, because you're a fucking maniac, but like the casual fan wouldn't have known who Oz was. They would have never known that guy. They would have never knew whoever Scott Hall played. And I can't even remember
Diamond Stud.
Diamond Stud, yeah. No. Until he became Razor Ramon, nobody even knew what machismo was until he was like,
yeah. So I mean, you would imagine that, though. Imagine if Hogan turned heel and you had Vinny Vegas and the Diamond Stud as your heavies. It's like that group probably nobody would have cared about. But because it was Razor and Diesel, who had literally just left the WWF and become Scott Hall and Kevin Nash.
Which is very smart to use their names, their actual names. That was... Yeah. Like, they legit had to go on air and say, we don't work for the WWF, because it started seeming like they were going to war.
Yeah. I mean, when you ask, that's probably one of the most real storylines that WCW did, because it's like, do you work for the WWF? And Hall and Nash both said on a Great American Bash pay-per-view, no, that they did not work for the WWF.
Right. I heard they had to do that. Like, they had a lawsuit or something coming. Like, they had to, like, let it be clear that it's not the WWF guys, because they knew. Eric talks about it. Even Kevin Nash talks about it. They'll tell you, like, that was one of the biggest most intriguing things about it in the beginning, is everyone thought that they worked for the WWF.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been interesting. Imagine a legitimate invasion if that would have happened. I still would love to see like a WWE versus AEW supercard, that they just work together, one show. There's no like egos or anything. You let some WWE guys win, you let some AEW guys win, and let it be that. You don't have to make it like this whole like invasion type thing. And if I were the WWE, I would let AEW go over in the main event, because then you could build off of that storyline wise. Because WWE beating AEW in the main event does no good for anybody. You would have to have AEW go over.
You know when I would do it? I know this seems weird. You know when I would do that? Survivor Series.
I mean, it's a good one to do it at.
Because they already got the
you could do the champion versus champion thing. Like, you could do the WWE champion, but you'd have to pick only one champion. Like, you can't do the WWE and Universal champion against the AEW champion, because that's ridiculous.
Well, I mean,
it's 2-on-1, basically a handicap match.
Because you could just be like against the AEW champion and the Impact champion.
But right now that's the same guys.
That's what I'm saying. So Kenny would be like, "That's me.
Yeah,
let's do this handicap match."
And then throw in the NXT champion and be like, "Oh, then you're facing the AAA champion too." Omega's like, "Are you serious?"
Just make sure Jeff Hardy's not in the match.
Yeah. And Adam has a good point. If Gage is the second trial, then what the frick are the rest? It's a good question, and we're going to be finding those out here shortly. But no spins tonight, unfortunately. But I do want to thank JB3 for joining me. Dynamite's going to be starting in 5 minutes, so I want you guys to enjoy that. I'm going to be watching that and editing Jack of All Trades. So I hope you guys have a good night. I will see you next week. I will see you all tomorrow for the championship match of Jack of All Trades. Daisy Ruth, Andy Datson, K-Zone, Travis Fame. Who's going to win? You're going to find out tomorrow. Who is going to be the first ever Jack of all trades champion. For JB3, I am, of course, Greg Cherry. We will see you all next week and tomorrow, but mostly next week for the Greg Cherry Show. Have a good night.